Hi everyone, welcome to this video. And in this video, I am going to talk about the cure for depersonalization or derealization. And if you are new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Dan and I help people overcome DPDR with neurocoaching techniques. And if you do find the video useful or if you do like it, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There are a lot of questions out there about, is it possible to recover from DPDR? And what is the cure for DPDR? And some people even ask questions like, well, I've had DPDR for so long, I just don't even know what normal feels like anymore. And how do I even know if the DPDR is gone? Well, to allay your fears, it is absolutely possible to recover from DPDR no matter how long you've had it. Do you want to know how I know how it's possible to cure DPDR? Well, apart from having recovered from it myself and seen other people recover from it too, there was a point in your life where you didn't have DPDR. And then something happened which brought on the DPDR sort of state that you're in now. So it is absolutely 100% possible to get back to that place. And what you might not actually know is that it's sort of a little bit simpler and easier than you think. Because DPR does feel like such a massive problem, and obviously it's having such a big impact in your life, sometimes it feels like there has to be a massive, big type of cure for it. You have to do this massive thing. That's not the case. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit. It's important to understand that there isn't a specific thing you can do to overcome DPDR. In other words, there's no silver bullet. But just how like your DPDR is caused by a mixture of things, the steps to recovery are also a mixture of things. Many people think that DPDR is caused by anxiety, but in reality it's caused by trauma. Anxiety is a symptom of trauma, and DPDR is a symptom of anxiety. To properly recover from your DPDR, you need to be able to process the trauma in whatever way that entails. This is why some people do have a relapse back into DPDR if they do things like practicing acceptance and grounding without actually processing the trauma, which is the trigger for all this in the first place. They can essentially get rid of the symptoms in DPDR and feel back to normal again, but then something unexpected might happen in their life and it sets them off again. And this is really unfortunate because they work so hard for this. Let's have a quick look at trauma and the symptoms of trauma. Trauma can include many symptoms, including anxiety and fear, denial, feeling sad, hopeless, feeling disconnected, self-blame, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, insomnia, being easily startled. So you can see here that anxiety and feeling disconnected is just a symptom of trauma. So if you only look at fixing your anxiety, there's all these other things which might need to be worked on, which is why your DPDR might come back. What really sucks about this is that it means when you suffer from DPDR, you experience symptoms of DPDR and symptoms of trauma. I've talked about trauma a lot, so how do we actually process the trauma? The vast majority of DPDR cases involve a trauma. This is often why people get stuck in a state of DPDR, because the mind is constantly being triggered and wanting to make itself safe due to the constant trauma triggers. It can get to a point where the questions and thoughts associated with DPDR become a trigger in themselves. DPDR can make itself stronger once you have it. So how do we cure the DPDR? Well, it's a combination of basically everything I've spoken about, including acceptance, grounding, having therapy, and also realizing that that might have been a trauma that you've had. Now, what's really important here is that some people sort of only go down one of these routes. For example, they would only go down the acceptance route. And while people can get results of this, I have seen instances where they've said, I've gone through acceptance and I've learned to accept thoughts and questions as things that can't harm me, and I'm just getting on with my life anyway. And, DPDR just sort of stopped out of nowhere. It just sort of vanished. And that's really amazing. That's such a big achievement. But unfortunately, sometimes what happens is because the trauma hasn't actually been processed, there might be another trigger that happens even like a year later or 6 months later or however long later. And when this trigger happens again, it puts you back in the state of DPDR. And that's really awful. So this is the importance of combining all these different things together. The most important thing out of all of these things is talk therapy. And that is because talk therapy is the only type of thing that is going to help you work through and process the trauma. If you practice acceptance, or if you take meds, or if you only focus on grounding yourself, true, you're going to stop the symptoms. But we already know that trying to fix the symptoms isn't actually going to fix anything in the long term. And the only way that you fix things in the long term is by talking about your trauma and processing it. When you're in the safe coaching space, it is an excellent opportunity to explore your beliefs around it, the rules you've set yourself, the meanings you've done, and all these other things which are leading you to have all these triggers. So once we understand that, once we understand what you think about it, then that's the way forward. It's vital to realize that this is going to take work, and you might have to talk about things which do make you feel a tiny bit uncomfortable, or you might have to sort of push yourself outside of your comfort zone, because outside of the comfort zone is where all the healing and all the resolving happens. And that's because you are challenging yourself. You are having to get into the mental state of sort of, catching your thoughts and thinking about your beliefs, and everything that you do talk about in therapy. You have to put that into action. If you don't put that into action, then nothing's actually going to happen. And that might seem a little bit scary, and it might seem a little bit off-putting. But the great thing is that once you start to do this, it's going to get easier, because the more you do something, the easier it gets. And as soon as you start to do this stuff, you might notice like even a 1% improvement in how you're feeling. And that is going to be such a thing. You're like, wow, I've got 1% improvement. Like I've never had that before. That's going to feed into your motivation, and it's really going to give you momentum to getting to the next 1%, then the 10%, 50%, and before you know it, you're way up at 100%. And you're like, man, what was I even worried about? Like, this is so amazing and great that I've really challenged myself and put the effort in to overcome this. My friends, I really hope you've learned a little bit from this video, and it's given you some hope that it is possible to recover from your DPDR, no matter how long you've had it. And if you do want to ask me any questions, then leave them in the comments or get in touch with me via, all my details are in the description, and I will do my absolute best to help you and to answer your questions. So until next time, you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you all later. Bye.